Please welcome to the stage Global Brand Ambassador and co-owner of Inter Miami CF, David Beckham, and founder, chairman, and CEO of Authentic Brands Group, Jamie Salter, in conversation with Milken Institute Chairman, Michael Milken.
Well, David and Jamie, thank you for joining us today. Many years ago, when we had what were then the large media companies, now the small media companies, they used to run their sizzle wheel, telling you what their coming movies were. But today, we have the honor of Authentic Brands sizzle wheel. So let's start with that one. That's all Authentic Brands you brought to us, Jamie, built in just 15 years. So I thought, what is the value of a brand? So when you look and you go online today, you can pull it up. What are the most valuable brands in the world today? Well, no surprise, Apple is the most valuable brand in the world today. And then you're looking at Microsoft and Google and Amazon. And we often talk about what is not on the balance sheet. The productivity of individuals, social capital, human capital. But for most of these companies, there's no value for the brand on the balance sheet. And according to the report recently, the Apple brand is worth more than $500 billion. Amazon, $300 billion, and so on. And in many ways, if you think back in time, if you're old enough, one of the most valuable brands in the world at one time was Sony. And you were willing to pay a premium product, a premium price for that product if it said Sony. When you look at all the people interviewed, they're willing to pay a premium price for an Apple product today because of the value of the brand. So let's talk, Jamie, and let's go back in time and tell us, how did your relationship with David start before you even became partners? How did it unfold? And tell us a little bit about the partnership today.
So it started about 10 years ago. I met David, and David was thinking of partnering with a company and selling part of his brand. And that was about 10 years ago, and he sat down with us and said, well, we'll sell you this part and we'll sell you certain other parts of the brand, but we're not willing to divest of the whole brand. And we said, well, David, we would love to do a deal with you, but we would like to do a deal where we're 50-50 partners, sort of like a marriage, And we don't want it to be about just endorsements or just about merchandise. We want it to be about everything. And he said, well, unfortunately, that's not in the cards right now. And I have another deal that I could do. And we said, okay, let's stay friends, let's stay close, and maybe one day we'll be able to get together and do a deal like we'd like to do, which is a 50-50 partnership. Because when we do those deals, they need to last forever, and we don't want anything that sort of gets in the middle of that partnership or relationship.
And what were you looking for from David's side in this partnership?
Well, as time went on, we got to know David, and what we really realized is David was really building a brand, not just a brand that was, endorsing other people's products, really building a brand that would last forever. The DB brand was different than some of the other deals that we've looked at in the past. And more importantly, he was building an incredible team. And that's really why we got so attracted to the Beckham brand, because we did the deal in 2022 in February, but we have tripled our business in EMEA because of the Beckham team. So we actually got 2 deals out of the David Beckham brand, not only the David Beckham, but David Beckham's team.
So David, arguably, you're one of the most successful athletes turned entrepreneur in history. Can you explain that transition from full-time athlete to full-time businessman or entrepreneur?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great morning so far. It's obviously great to be back in LA for me. It feels like home. We spent a good 6 years here with the Galaxy, so it was a very special time. I suppose the transition
Are we ever going to get you back?
Well, I'm slightly committed to somewhere else at the moment, but it definitely feels like home. And obviously coming back here, a lot of special memories, and it was all about the family here, and we got welcomed with open arms. So it's a special place for us. The transition from being an athlete to be an entrepreneur and go into the business side actually started 10 years before I actually retired. I knew that I would want to go into business and to build brands and to invest into brands in the future after I stopped playing. And it started 10 years out. I was always, throughout my career, I was the face of quite a few brands, if you know the history. But I wanted more in business, and I wanted to move into something else. So in all honesty, business is very much like sport. You have to be dedicated, you have to have courage to go into different investments and different deals and make big decisions. And you have to work hard, and I've always seen myself as a very dedicated athlete over the last 22 years of playing professionally. I'm definitely hardworking. I get that from my parents and my grandparents. But then I also knew that I wanted to go into business really with people that have the same values as what I do. And that was what it was all about. It was about building my business up to a certain point and then being able to partner with someone that then could take it on to a different level. And I think when me and Jamie met, 10 years ago, I knew that eventually we would be in business together. It just took a little bit longer than I think we both thought, but I think that it's great to be part of a brand and someone's family like I am with Jamie and the Salters that have the same values as what I do.
Other individuals who might want to team up with Jamie in the future, what made you feel he was going to protect your brand?
I think from day one, I've been asked over the last 2 years since we signed the deal, what is Jamie like? What is it like to be part of Authentic? Do you get, pushed into making certain decisions about, your business and your life? And I'm very honest with people when they ask me that, because a lot of these athletes that ask me are friends, and I always want to be honest. And from day one, me and Jamie sat down and said, look, you know, the business that we've bought, we understand the value, we understand where you can take it and where you can also take authentic. And that's what we understand. So I think every part of, you know, the deal that we signed, and my relationship with Jamie, more importantly, my relationship with his family, that was one of the biggest reasons why I signed the deal that I did, and signed it with Jamie and authentic, because to be part of that family, to see that he has the same values, his wife, his children, all of his boys in the business, that's what I wanted to be part of. So my advice to anyone that asks me, you know, about my relationship and the partnership that I have with Authentic and Jamie is do it.
So Jamie, what did you see in the DB brand? I know I haven't seen DB out there yet. Now, you maybe haven't noticed in the audience, can you let us know what you're wearing today and whether anything is a brand that you're advertising? I notice you have Adidas shoes on. What else have you got on?
These are not Adidas. These are Reeboks.
Oh, Reeboks. Okay, I was kidding you. Okay. What about the rest of it?
It's because Adidas, you know, once upon a time stole a silhouette from Reebok, and they made a shoe that was similar to this. But this is the original shoe.
Are you wearing any of your brands?
Yeah, I'm wearing also Brooks Brothers suit and a Brooks Brothers shirt, and I'm wearing Reebok socks, and I'm wearing Reebok underwear.
Okay, fine. Okay. So what you're telling us is if you sign up with Authentic Brands, you will wear those brands, right?
I definitely wear our brands quite often.
What did you see in David that you felt together you could build one of the great brands in the world?
Well, look, you know, we have many different divisions at Authentic, you know, our lifestyle division and our entertainment division. When it comes to a living legend like David, you have to be incredibly careful, because you're partnering up with someone that they got to go to work the next day. So when you're doing that, it really is like a marriage. So understanding sort of what their goals are in life and where they're going, not only with their brand, but themselves as a person, because you're going to write this big check, and then you got to wake up tomorrow morning, you got to hope that they're going to go to work after they got that big check. So David and I, we knew each other obviously for 8 years prior to, you know, partnering up a couple of years ago, but his family values were incredibly important to me, and the relationship that he has with his children and his wife and his friends and how he treats them was really, really important to me. So I learned that sort of through the 8 years, just sort of watching him in action. And truth be told, everything that I knew about David, he's even 10 times better than what I knew. I mean, he is the hardest working person that I know, kind of next to me. I do work kind of hard. But he's an incredible person. And, you know, I always say when, you know, you go to some of these places to do certain events, and David will stand there and take a picture and sign an autograph till the last person leaves the building. And that is, you know, incredible, because when you sort of hang out with celebrities and athletes and, you know, people like yourself, okay, champions like you, Michael, that it really is appreciative to see how much time and effort that he puts into his partners and his fans and his friends.
So let's take a look at a slide, brand value versus total valuation of a company. And the blue is the valuation of the company in a sense, and the red is, the blue is telling you what the brand is worth. And so you can see it varies tremendously here when you look at the brand value of some companies versus the total value. And for some companies that have very valuable, Walmart's brand is worth $100 billion, but it's a small part, whereas you can see in Starbucks or Mercedes-Benz or TikTok, it's a large part. So let's talk about brands. Now, when you think of athletes and how many people are following them, David, so you might have taken that list out, I don't know if you did, and you discovered, well, there's this guy Messier, and he's got 300 million followers. And so his arrival to your club, Miami, sparked headlines around the world for weeks. Can you speak to us about how you and Messier got together, this incredible deal? And when I talked to Gianni, who runs FIFA, his view was what you've done in Miami will change soccer, quote, football for the world by introducing, and he is now, as the head of FIFA, has decided to move to Miami. How did you get all of this done, David?
Well, as you know, things take time, and it took a long time. It actually took a long time to actually get the team in Miami up and running. I remember announcing it over 11 years ago now, and I thought in 2 years we'll have a stadium, we'll have a team, and we'll be winning the MLS Cup. You know, and then 5 years on, we still didn't have the team in the league. So it took time. So I had to be patient, which if you ask my wife, she says I'm not very good at. So it took a lot of patience, but I remember having the first brand meeting for the team 10 years prior. And on the last slide of the presentation of the logo, the colors, the name, was a picture of Leo in a pink strip that was the Miami strip. And that was always my vision. My vision was always to try and bring the greatest player to have played the game to our city and to our club. Now, it was never going to be easy. It took time. I actually sneaked into his dad's hotel, not while he was sleeping, when he was awake, for a meeting. And that was the first conversation. That was 5 years ago. And we continued the conversation, me and my partner at the time, my partner who is Jorge Mas in the club. And we continued over that time. Now, I went to Leo and obviously spoke to him about my journey to the US, and obviously my transition from playing at Real Madrid to then moving to a league like the MLS that wasn't as established as it is now. There was 13 teams in the league. There were 6 soccer-specific stadiums within the league, and now there's going to be 30 teams in the league, and every team has soccer-specific stadium, or there's at least 26 in there. So it took time, but I knew that to bring someone like Leo and his status to the US, someone that actually also understood the market, someone that understood that coming to the US opened so many different things for him. He had the same vision as what I did for the league and for the sport. He had the same vision as what I have had for the team. And that's what really made me want to bring someone like Leo. Obviously, on the pitch, you can all see from day one, he's been incredible. But the most important thing for me about bringing someone like Leo was to excite and encourage and inspire the next generation of soccer players or football players within the US. And that's what we planned on doing. So we're very lucky to have a player like him and a person like him and a family like him, but it wasn't easy. It took a lot of creative minds and businesses to kind of bring him to the US, but you know, I think it's been incredible, and I think it's also accelerated the interest and accelerated the sport here in the US, especially on the lead up to the World Cup in 2026.
What has surprised you the most, if anything, and what weren't you surprised about that's occurred?
I've not been surprised about the excitement around the country. You know, obviously on the global side, it's taken our global appeal as a club to a different level, and I don't think there's many MLS teams that can have that, and also not many teams in the game that have the global appeal that bring in someone like Leo does when he comes into a city or when he comes into a team. But we also put a lot of great people and structure around him as well. You know, brought in a few of his ex-teammates, you know, to obviously complement what he does. The surprise, and in all honesty, I've not been surprised by anything. I know him as a person. I know him as a player. I've watched him for many years. I played against him not many times, a couple of times. A couple of times was enough, in all honesty. But to be on the same football pitch as someone like him is incredible. And when you see him, and if any of you would like to come to Miami at some point and watch him play, you will see what he's just different. He's just different. He's different on the pitch and he's different off the pitch. And I think the moment he arrived here in the US and in Miami, I think the humble side of him came out, and I think that's what the whole of the US really embraced, the fact that he is a normal person. He's not a normal person when he's on the pitch, but when he's off the pitch, he goes down, does his own grocery shopping, and he goes and watches his kids play. And I think that is why he's been embraced the way he has been embraced.
So Jamie, I noticed Marilyn Monroe was in your montage. What is the difference between taking a brand, as you've built this company over less than 15 years, taking a brand of an individual who's alive and taking a brand for an individual that's not alive? And I know when I financed Calvin Klein many years ago, I used to sit and talk to Calvin periodically about what am I going to read in the newspaper the next day that you did last night. And so you always sometimes were on pins and needles as to what he wanted to do. Compare and contrast someone like David with someone like Marilyn Monroe. Do you also have Elvis Presley yet or not?
Yes, we have Elvis Presley.
Okay, so let's talk Elvis and Marilyn versus David.
Well, first of all, Elvis Presley, he does not fly private anymore. David does. Definitely more expensive to manage and partner with a living legend versus somebody that's not with us. But I will tell you, with AI technology and everything that's coming into the world right now, I do think, you know, you will see Elvis and Marilyn, I do believe, back in the movie business at some point. Really, the difference is Marilyn can't really show up for this event, at least not yet. Okay, I do see that happening in the future. But there are definitely lots of similarities when you're running the actual business, and then there's lots of things that are a little bit different. I would say that a living legend, especially someone like David that's so global and has so much social media attached.
More than 100 million fans.
About 164 million.
Okay, I thought you'd correct me.
But, you know, someone like David, obviously taking him around the world and building his brand, I've never seen anything like it. It's sort of remarkable of sort of where it is today and, you know, where it was even 2 years ago. But comparing it obviously to Marilyn and Elvis, as much as I love Marilyn, I'll take a few more Davids.
Well, it's going to be tough to find too many more Davids. So, David, first I want to give you congratulations on your recent hit Netflix series with the very unusual name Beckham. What is it like having your own production studio, Studio 99, which is now a pillar of authentic studios?
Yeah, you know, thank you for the congratulations. It's been a very personal project of mine and my family. You know, it took me 10 years to actually conceived that I should make a documentary like this, and we always planned to bring it out on my 10-year anniversary of retirement. So it kind of worked out perfectly, but I think it worked out even more perfectly the excitement, like global excitement around the documentary. And I originally just did it purely to have everything from my career and my life all in one place for my family. You know,
so now, many people in the audience who are investors in Netflix wanted to know, are you the reason for the increase in here around the world in subscribers?
Well, I'd like to say I've played a small part, but
I think you played a big part, and they definitely did not give us enough.
But in all honesty, you know, working with Netflix and making that documentary, like I said, was a very personal project, and it was something that obviously was you know, starting the Studio 99 within the business was a natural progression, really, within the business, because obviously I'd spent so many years making content for different brands, you know, to then, you know, at the end of my career, be part of a few other documentaries that friends were making, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I thought, why not make our own studios and build our own studios, and then obviously make everything in-house, which is, you know, which is something that we're very proud of, because, you know, to start it off with, you know, the documentary, and for it to have been so popular and people love it in the way they did, you know, it was very humbling to obviously see people's reaction around the world to certain moments in that documentary, from us dancing as a married couple, which went obviously viral, as I'm sure you've seen, and you had young people dancing, old people dancing with their dogs, dancing with their children. So, you know, it was very popular, and we was very proud of it.
What are we to expect to be coming from Studio 99? In other words, what type of documentaries, films, or other forms of entertainment are you hoping to bring?
Yeah, we have a few things on the slate at the moment, about 10 or 11 shows that we're working on. And obviously, you know, I like to be part of things that are authentic to me, in all honesty.
I like that word.
I know you do. And that's what's important to me. So we're making a few other documentaries that I've done. You know, there's one, the relationship between Adidas and Puma, and that whole story between the brothers, and we've got a few other things in the workings. But, you know, we're willing and able to go into, you know, most areas. So, you know, I'm excited about what the studio looks like in the future.
So my grandson now is following, gets up early in the morning. Now, it was hard to get teenagers up early in the morning until he wanted to watch the Champions League play live, not on tape. What drove you into the sport to begin with?
Well, my dad was a Manchester United fan, and for as long as I can remember, all I wanted to do was play football or soccer. And that was my main objective in life. You know, I wasn't worried about money, I wasn't worried about fame, and I still wasn't when I was 38 years old when I retired. My whole ambition as a young kid was to be a professional soccer player. And I knew that I had to work hard, I sacrificed. My dad was always pretty hard on me as a young kid. And like in business, I had to sacrifice a lot. I moved out of London when I was 15 years old up to Manchester, and I stayed there till I was 27 years old, and then obviously had the career that I had when I went on from there. But it wasn't without, you know, making certain mistakes and having down moments, but those are the things you learn from. And I was able to live my dream of being a soccer player and also represent my country, which was my biggest moment in my career.
So today, the soccer camp schools start at a very young age, and there's a substantial increases in players from sub-Saharan Africa and the champion leagues, etc. What advice would you give to a young person today?
Well, within the club at Miami, the most important thing and the most exciting thing for me was starting the academy system. We have an academy kids that now start at 10 years old up until 23 years old. And that's the future of the sport. It's the future of this country. And I always said to the commissioner at the time that to get this academy system up and running throughout the whole league, because then for the future of the game here in the US, you know, everybody knows what the US thinks about sports. They always want to be number one. US always want to be number one, and there's no reason why in the future the game can't get to be in the number one, because it is the number one played sport and the most popular sport in the world. So my advice to young kids, sorry I went off piste a little bit, is just to enjoy it more than anything, to work hard, to be dedicated, to sacrifice. But the one thing I always say to young kids is if you're not enjoying it, you're doing the wrong sport.
What % of your team today was born in the United States, and what do you think it'll be 10 years from now?
Actually, we have, obviously, Miami is a very diverse city. You know, we have a lot of, obviously, Argentinians, Haitians, Colombians, you know. So our team is very diverse, but we have a lot of great US talented players. We have a young boy who's half Argentinian, half American, and he's just made his debut for the US national team, Kramashi Benji. So he's a very young, talented kid that actually was playing with my son in the younger team in Miami. And I noticed, and I said to the coach at the time, you have to put him in. And he was like, but he's 16 years old. I said, he's ready. And we put him in, and he made, you know, a strong, quick progression, and then went straight into the US national team, and he's doing very well. So, you know, there's a large percentage of our team that we do have that are US players, and that's what we're proud of, because then it sets up for the future of the game in this country and the national team, and that's what's important.
Jamie, what's next for Authentic Studios and Studio 99 from your standpoint?
So we've got about 10 shows now in the making. Some on the Studio 99 side, some on the Jersey Legend side, and then a few on the Authentic side. We're going to continue to get more heavily into the content business, because between content, lifestyle, entertainment, it really is all sort of going together now. And we're going to continue to invest in the entertainment side of our business. Today, entertainment's about 25% of our total revenue, and we want it to grow substantially. And because we have an asset-light model, we think that we have a huge edge on some of our competitors to grow that side of the business tremendously over the next 3 to 5 years.
So if the three of us were on the stage in 2026, when the World Cup comes here, what is David going to be wearing?
I do know that answer. You'll find out soon enough.
Not a soccer kit, unfortunately.
He won't be playing
though I'd
for a
like
team,
to, yeah.
but he will be wearing certain. The question is, what shoes will he be wearing? What clothes will he be wearing? You will find out soon.
Well, he's pretty. David, you're pretty well dressed today, and hopefully that's the Beckham line. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.